Good morning, everyone. Amy Gruber here from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. And thanks for thinking ahead to what the application setup needs to look like. This was supposed to be a webinar presented by my colleague Lauren Von Yu, but unfortunately, Lauren had a death in her family and is out of the office today. So I'm a little bit second string here, but I'm going to do my best to walk you through this process, which happily is pretty simple. In the event that I do get stuck with any questions, Sunaina Khanna, who is the product manager for API services, is also on the line and is ready to jump in. You know, the SAO with ISL schools has a bit of an interesting history, and we're certainly delighted to have an opportunity to work with you again. Early on, of course, when you used the SAO initially, it was operating on our old Lotus Notes system, was a bit harder to manipulate. Many of the enhancements and things that you see with the current SAO, which was completely rebuilt, are actually a result of things that your group suggested. So we're really proud of the product as it stands now and feel that it does work as a fantastic tool for schools and families. So we're thrilled that you gave us another chance. And there we go. So the first thing that we want you to begin thinking about is sort of the timeline for the application setup. And so we're going to have to take the current system down for a couple of weeks for some system maintenance, and then we'll relaunch the new SAO for the 2016 application year on September 1st. There are a number of reasons why the timeline is what it is, and just to walk you through that, it is impossible to run 2 years of the application service concurrently. Even if it was possible, the confusion it might invite for families would be significant. Imagine a family accidentally choosing the wrong application year or things like that. We also have a number of our member schools that use the SAO that are enrolling students right up until the start of the school year and even into the school year. So in service to those schools, we really try and balance keeping the SAO open as long as possible so that they can continue using the service. So Sunaina has worked hard to arrive at a happy medium in terms of, you know, when the service will be closed, and she has a very long to-do list for accomplishing all of the turnover needs between August 15th and 31st. So as of midnight on August 14th, the SAO for the 2015 school year will close. Families who've set up an account and who have begun the process will get plenty of communication from SSATB about that, so it won't be a surprise. From August 15th to 31, that's when we're asking schools to go in and do their application setup for the 2016 school year so that you can be ready to rock and roll on September 1st when the SAO opens for students. There are a few other dates that Lauren has noted here in the slide deck that are important for you guys. Different from when you used the SAO previously, we now distribute the school's application fees 4 times a year. It's not actually quarterly because Sunaina designed the schedule so that during the high volume parts of the season, when you do have a lot of application checks rolling in, December and February in particular, that you're actually getting those checks as quickly as possible. So you might want to note these dates for your accounting office: December 2nd, February 3rd, May 4th, and August 24th. So the to-do items that you want to be thinking about between now and August 15th when you go in to do your system setup are very basic things. Select which grades that you will use the application and review forms. Again, unlike the previous SAO, this one is now fully pre-K through 12, or even through PG. So if your school has additional grades and you would like to make it an option for families to use it at those grades, that's absolutely your call. And especially if you have families moving into St. Louis from other areas, you can imagine how convenient it would be for them to be able to use the SAO for all of their students. Then second, following along horizontally, you want to decide on the supplement form. Do you need a supplement? Do you need a different supplement by different grade groups? If yes, then you want to begin creating that supplement now so that it's ready to rock and roll the middle of August. Probably all of you have your application fees, and I believe there are standard deadlines and notification dates for ISIL, so those will be pretty easy in terms of inputting those into your system. Think about any special instructions you want to convey to applicants. Do you have a process that requires them to submit their application first before they can schedule an interview? Can they schedule an interview at any time? Are those spots limited? Whatever that might be, there's an opportunity for you to put those special instructions in a way that families will see them the minute they select your school to apply to. And one of the things that I like most about the special instructions is you can actually update those at any time. So as important deadlines pass in your application process, for example, or if you've only got a couple of weeks left for families to schedule interviews next year, those are instructions that you can go in and update anytime, and it's a real-time system so that those will immediately be reflected on your school's application. And obviously you want to let families know that you're going to use the SAO, so updating your website and publications, and I know people like Ashley have already been in touch with me about that, and Caroline Levine, because they're working hard at those things over the summer. And finally, you want to work with your webmaster to insert the SAO badge on the admissions page of your website. We actually have a specific ISIL branded badge, and once families click on that, it will actually take them to a landing page that's for ISIL. It will list things like your dates and all that sort of thing. So it's a really beautiful ISIL branded badge that has the ISIL name in it as well, and also takes families to a specific ISIL landing page. Happily, you're beginning with a system that you already know because you've been using it to access your SSAT scores. So everything you need to do is on your member access portal, your map, and I'm sure you all know how to access your map. So you go to your login screen for the map and enter your username, which is your email address, and your password. And I'm going to put in a security plug here, even though this is not what the webinar is about. Every person who accesses the map should have their own unique username and password. Please don't create an admission office login for anyone to use, because one of the things that we do for your own security, and this protects family information as well, is we're able to track who's in the system doing what. And this is really important. It also allows you, if somebody leaves your school, to remove them from having access. Because if you have one generic account that everybody's using, then if somebody leaves your school, they're still able to access all of your student application and test taker information. So you want to really make sure that you're protecting your own privacy in terms of your applicants and families, and also their privacy too. It's a very secure system. You can add as many people as you like. So this is what the map looks like once you're logged in. I'm sure it's familiar to all of you. And where you add and delete users is that manage user space here. So when I talked about, as you're thinking about setting up for the new school year, make sure any new staff members are entered, make sure any old staff members are removed, that sort of thing. Right beside the manage users link right here is the account profile feature. And so you want to select that account profile link, and then it takes you to a page where you can edit things that are specific to the SAO. So in order to do that, we've circled with red here the edit button. So you click on that edit button, and you can see there are a number of questions related to who should receive what communication in your office, because we are really trying to target the most appropriate person in all cases. So again, if you've had some staff turnover over the summer, which is very common, make sure you go through this page carefully and determine that we are sending information to the correct person. So we ask questions like, who in your office should we communicate with about SSAT scores? Who's the primary contact overall? Test administration. So then here we get down to SAO. So if you've got different grade groupings, we have some schools that have different elementary directors and different middle and upper school directors. You're going to be selecting who's the best person in your office to communicate with. Now, anybody that you've entered on your portal will be available as a user under these drop-down menus. So you do have to first go to Manage Users and put new people in if you haven't done that. And then you, of course, want to save your changes. So as with most things with our new map system here, it's a very, very user-friendly system. And just by clicking through things, it's very easy to navigate and figure out what you need to do next. Then you actually want to get to the application setup portion of things. You click on the Applications tab, which is actually that's covered in the red circle, but all of your tabs are Home, Testing, Scores, Application, Inquiries, and Resources. So the blue Applications tab, there's a link right there for Application Setup. So you click that Application Setup link, and then you're going to be selecting which grade group. Now it's the ISIL secondary application, so for the majority of you it will be only this grade 6 through PG. But MICDS, for example, does use it for 5th grade, and certainly welcome to use it for all grades if they like. So they would select more than one grade grouping. And then, once you're on the application setup feature, for each of your grades that you're using the SAO for, you're going to have to choose. Yes, I accept the SAO at this grade, put the little check mark in the box, and then the different components that you will require for your school. And one of the really cool features, and years ago when we first worked with ISIL, schools like Priory had agreements with their Catholic feeder schools in their network that they would only require one recommendation form so as not to overburden the teachers in those schools with completing multiple forms. But with the old SAO, it still looked as if 3 recommendation forms were required, and even though Priory noted in the instructions that it was only one, whenever families logged in, it appeared that they were missing information. Obviously, that was wildly confusing to many of the families and frustrating to the admissions office at Priory. So one of the enhancements that we were able to build into this new system was that schools have the ability to customize in terms of things like that. So when they call up Priory now, and assuming they will only require one recommendation, it will only list one recommendation. So those kinds of things, are terrific in terms of families being communicated with in the most clear and specific way. Let me just go back 1 minute. And so then you will also be putting in information about your deadline date and both your domestic and international application fees. And then this box here is where you type in whether or not there are any special instructions to students. Again, that might be related to campus visits and interviews. That might be related to encouraging families to take the SSAT by a specific date, because we know for a lot of families that's helpful if admissions offices are saying, in order for us to get these scores in a timely manner to review your application, you should take the SSAT no later than X date. Here's where we get to the page about supplement forms. About 49 schools presently utilize supplement forms with the SAO. That's out of 474-ish that accept the SAO. So not a large number. And we really encourage schools not to utilize a supplement if it's not absolutely necessary. And it's one of the things that we know from our family survey and from our other research with families, and even looking at colleagues in higher ed and the way that the Common Application is utilized there, that for many families it's yet another stumbling block, another barrier. And ISIL's been way ahead of the curve in terms of utilizing common testing and common application for families for years. And so you guys already know this. So I'll just say you're welcome to create a supplement, especially if it's information critical to your admissions process that is not requested as any part of our application. Please, please, please then do use a supplement. But if it's not necessary, then we encourage you to reconsider and perhaps not do it. So you want to be prepared to have this supplement available no later than September 1st, because September 1st is when the application launches. So we want families to have everything there for when the application launches. Because if a family goes in and tries to complete their application on the 1st, but say you were trying to add a supplement later, there would be a lot of confusion about for whom it was required and who not. So you've got to have your supplement ready to go before the new application year launches. The maximum file size for supplements is 3 megabytes. And Lauren Vanyu will personally make your supplement a beautiful and easy-to-use fillable PDF if you get that to her by July 19th. And folks, if you're going to use a supplement, why wouldn't you want it to be a beautiful fillable PDF that families can then use online and then upload very easily to their family portal? So keep those dates in mind. July 19th, if you want Lauren to create the fillable PDF for you, and prior to September 1 for any supplement. So again, as you're looking at your application setup and clicking on the parts of the application that are required, you're also going to be asked to submit all of this information about deadlines and application fees and special instructions. And I already mentioned that, but I'm mentioning it again because these are things that you want to make sure that you have at your fingertips when you do your application setup. Special instructions, think about those, things that maybe have been issues for families. If there's a specific person in your office that they should call with questions, that can be a really helpful spot for you to list that information to. Imagine how nice it is not to have to go looking for things like that. So think about the family user when you're creating these instructions and what information would be super helpful to have right on the application page. And then finally, we want to make sure that you have that SAO badge right on your website, because the most confusing things to families is if you don't say that you take the SAO, you don't provide a link. The functionality of the badge is such that when they click on it, it opens a new window. So it is not taking them away from your website. That window is still going to be open in the background. That's also a new feature. And as you can imagine, our schools were not particularly pleased with that previously when it would take them away from your website. As you can see, the badge we've created for ISIL contains the ISIL logo. And when families click on this, it will take them to an ISIL landing page on our website with the SAO on it. So great ISIL branding here. We've also created all of these badges in different colors because we don't want to take away from the beautiful design on your websites. So you will be able to choose from a variety of colors, and if for some reason we haven't imagined a color scheme that fits with your website, we're happy to make that happen. Then once you've done all of your setup, and remember you want to do this prior to September 1st, you will actually publish, and publish implies you're done, and that's a serious thing. You can't go back. And so that is serious. You're publishing all of your application requirements, your fees, your supplements, everything is ready to go. So make sure that you are 100% ready to go before you actually save the settings and publish. Lauren has kindly left her contact information there for questions, but obviously you should feel free to contact me at any time as well. And Sunena also stands ready to answer questions. So hopefully Karen has gathered a number of questions during the course of the webinar, and I will be happy to answer those and also send any to Sunena right now that I can't answer.
Thanks, Amy. I want to encourage anybody who has any questions at this point. The best way to get the answers is to get them live rather than waiting until you're in the middle of the setup process to have a question and need to get it answered. Of course, we're always available at that point as well. But if you do have a question that came up while we were going through the presentation, I encourage you to use the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel to go ahead and type those in for us. So Amy, the first question is, are families able to complete an application as of September 1st?
Beginning September 1st, yes.
Okay.
So the system goes live September 1st. So that is the date that a family can go in and create their application account. Well, if they can create an SSAT account as of August 1st. That's when the year opens for test registration, and they use the same account for test registration and for SAO, but the SAO will not be available until September 1st.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what do they do if they want to add an HTML link in the special instructions?
Can you open that over to Sunena, because she's done that, so I'll let her field that one.
Okay, Sunena actually typed in the question. Oh, Sunena, are you there?
Yes, hi. Welcome all. That's a great question. So if you want to add any HTML links, for example, if you're using a specific scheduler for interview scheduling, you can do so by mentioning it in your special instructions, and the students will see these live links on their family portal, and they will it's going to be as simple as clicking on the link and taking them to that web page. So they are not going to move away from their family portal web page. It's just going to open in a new tab, but you're more than welcome to add HTML links. Just a line of caution: to check your links to make sure that they are leading the user to the correct web page.
Terrific. So the special instructions section is where they should put any live links. Is that correct?
Yes.
Terrific. And Sunena referenced a special scheduling program. We have a couple of our schools this year that were SAO users. Princeton Day School in New Jersey is one that went to an online scheduling program and had that link right in special instructions. And so they found that the efficiencies in their office were just fantastic utilizing a system like that. So if it's not something that your office has imagined, we'd certainly be able to be happy to put you in touch with the folks at PDS to walk you through what they did.
Great, thank you so much. Julie has a question. In the past, when a family submitted an application, it took a day or more to show up. Is that still the case, or do we now immediately see the pieces of the application once they're submitted?
Oh, I love that question simply because it allows me to talk again about how much I love the new system. The new system is a real-time system. So once a family pays their application fee and selects your school, that information will instantly appear on your member access portal. And so confusion we often have, both with test scores and with applications, are that a family will send their scores, and the scores also appear real time, instantly on school's portals. So what often happens to create confusion is the family then calls the school to double check, and whoever's answering the phone looks in their database, and the data may not yet have been moved from the portal to the database. So what we're telling every school is, please check your map, because that's going to be where the real-time information is. But yes, it is an instant delivery. There's no longer any third-party pushing of information that needs to happen at SSATB headquarters. So it's awesome.
Great, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, Daryl, for the next question. In previous years, parents have sent email links directly to teachers, and this has caused a lot of confusion as parents often send links to the wrong teacher. I've had parents send all links to me, the division director, and then I simply forward those recommendation links to the appropriate teachers. Can I still do this?
If Daryl is a placement director at a feeder school that is an SSATB member school, you can do that if the family has designated your school as application advisor. But in order for a school to do that, they actually do have to be a member of SSATB and designated as the application advisor for the student. Otherwise, it is the responsibility of the family to designate the teachers for teacher recommendations. But it's also easy, very easy with this new system for them to resend links, for them to see if the recommendation's been completed. The teachers get a confirmation and a PDF of the recommendation that they've completed for their own files. So there have been a tremendous amount of improvements. But if you are at a what we would call a feeder school, I do encourage you to look into this service, that if you're a member school and act as application advisor, you can indeed take over that responsibility for your students. And if you had paper recommendations that your teachers were going to complete, you could actually upload those to the students' applications yourself for those to be submitted.
Great, thank you so much, Amy. We actually do have a number of resources, and they're going to be updated for the upcoming year, of course, but we always keep a number of resources for placement directors and educational consultants on admission.org on the MAP help page that can help you kind of determine what you want to do with your recommendations. The next question is payment now required in order to submit the application?
Yes, and that was actually always the case. And one of the best things about the SAO is that you know when you receive applications that these are serious applicants. They have either paid your application fee or utilize the application fee waiver code that you, the school, have issued to them. So in order for families to actually apply to any school, they do have to pay the application fee.
Great, thank you, Amy. The next question is, during the shutdown period, will we see any updates to an application that was submitted prior to August 14th?
Your applications will still remain on your map, the ones that were submitted prior to August 14th. So those will not go away. And then, you know, into the school year, and when we turn the system over to the 2016 year, there will be an archive tab on the application section, just like there is on the scores section, that for a period of time into the new school year, you can still access the previous year's scores and the previous year's applications. We're not able to keep that going in perpetuity just because of the amount of real estate that takes up for us. And then as we're onboarding new applications and new scores during the year, the system gets a bit crowded. But perhaps Sunena can say until what date the 2015 applications will be there in the archive section. Do you know that already, Sunena?
Sure. So the aim here is starting this year, we want to have a dedicated archive, and we are really striving to make it available for the entire year. But as of now, I don't have a date. The date that we had last year was 30th of October. So should we not be able to achieve that kind of development for some reason, which I'm very, very hopeful that it's on my high priority, I have to get it done, because we want that our member schools should have access to the previous year's applications. So the first update is that we are making the system work in a way wherein your archive will be available throughout the year. Should for some reason it won't happen, like last year we had it through 30th October, perhaps we'll do the same or maybe extend it by another month or so. Just few other pieces which I would like to add to Amy's input on that question was that anytime an application is submitted prior to a shutdown date, so for example for this year it is the 14th of August, 11:59 p.m. EST, if an application has made it to your portal and you've seen it, come that shutdown time, any update first of all, the student cannot make any update to their application after the application shuts down. So for example, I was a student. You saw my first part 1, which is a biographic, and on 15th of August, if I try to do a recommendation form or a student essay, I won't be allowed to, because now that application for the system is being calculated as an archived application. So no action can be taken by the student in the blackout period, which we call the shutdown period. So due actions are taken, any recommendation links will be expiring, any application fee waivers that you issued to a student which were not used, but now the student wants to use it. In the shutdown period, they would not be. So good, friendly messages will keep coming up on the portal, but no updates will happen on anything that was submitted prior to 14th August.
So the good news is that until about Halloween, you can count on being able to access applications and test scores from the 2015 year.
Yes. With a better news of us releasing it for the year.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, ladies. The next question is regarding multiple siblings. If you have more than one sibling applying, do you need more than one sign-on, or does each student have to have a distinct email, in other words?
Each student will have their own account, and it is by student, by applicant. Unfortunately, our system doesn't yet operate as such that it would pre-fill the family information. So for each individual child, the family would have to create a new account, but they can use the same. The parents can use this. Well, Sunaina, weigh in on this, because I know we had some back and forth about this. I believe the parents can use the same email address for that account. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
But they would have a different username?
Yes, each sibling or each kid will have a unique username. The parent can list them as parent 1 and parent 2 as they did for each child, but the system doesn't connect them in a way wherein it becomes a household, that the parent, this parent had 2 children and those 2 are siblings. So that calculation is not happening in the system. They are all unique identities in the system.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question was, are the essays in the SAO, are they able to be edited for each school that's receiving an application?
No, the essays are the essays that are there. If you need some different information, that's where you would utilize a school supplement. Because, again, the purpose of a common application is to have a common set of forms. And so the individual questions, essay questions, all that are not editable.
Thank you, Amy and Sunaina. I don't have any more questions in the queue at this point. So I guess we could wrap up. Once again, thank you to all of our ISSL participants this morning. I'm going to hand it back over to Amy once again.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Karen, and thanks to all of you. So once again, the major things you just need to keep in mind for your application setup are the dates. So between August 15th and September 1st, you want to make sure that you're in your portal completing your application setup. If you're going to use school supplements, you want to make sure and have those forms done. If you want Lauren to make them a beautiful fillable PDF, July 19th is the deadline date for getting those to Lauren. And then also just coordinating with your webmaster about getting the ISL SSAT SAO badge on your website. Hopefully all of that is pretty simple. You did get a binder at the April meeting where Sunaina and Kate were, and Jennifer, that has some of the forms there on paper. So if you wanted to go through the forms, if you wanted to look at any of that, we tried to make it a little bit easier for you rather than going through everything on the website. But don't hesitate to reach out to Lauren or to me if you have any questions. And I think that calls it a day on this Monday morning. So have a great 4th of July holiday, everyone.